Mayo in the All-Ireland football qualifiers discussed.
Yeah, where do we start? Yeah, look here. As I mentioned in the paper for tomorrow, we've been put through the ringer on several times in big matches, and especially in Croke Park. And I honestly think last Saturday against Kildare was up there with one of those that you couldn't actually believe. I fully believed the game was done. I thought we were absolutely gone. So much so, I don't mind admitting it, I started filming the seagulls in Croke Park. The performance was, I got great footage actually. The seagulls themselves even thought the game was over midway through the first half, and they were acting like the crowd were leaving. But yeah, look at here, it was probably the most forgettable first half of football from a Mayo perspective. Nothing went right. Like, didn't start badly with Jack Carney's great point, but thereafter things just went downhill. And as I said, look at Kildare weren't much better. Kildare forwards weren't much better, but Kildare went in 8-5 at half time. We were clinging on. A couple of scores. I mean, the old reliable Lee Keegan, of course, came to the fore with a brilliant point at the outside of the boot, and Owen McLaughlin with one of those penetrating runs from deep after what I think was an initial miss kick by James Carr that was absolutely fantastically fetched by Jack Carney. But an unbelievable. It's funny, one of your colleagues, John Fogarty, was beside me in the press area at Croke Park, and as the ball left his boot, as the ball left James Carr's boot, I says, watch, Carney is going to catch this. And he did. And then McLaughlin got the chance, and I said, that was some pass. And Fogarty started roaring laughing. So, yeah, I had a feeling, but look, that could have, that might have set Mayo up, I suppose. That ended up being a brilliant save by I suppose what you call the much maligned Aaron O'Neill, who had his debut on goals for Kildare. Like, a very indifferent afternoon for him. But yeah, certainly first half was one of those forgettable. And sure, the start of the second half didn't start much better. It looked to be going downhill after it. And how Mayo ended up winning that game by 5 points, I'll just never ever know. But yeah, look, I think that the stat doing the round that everybody is talking about, and I've mentioned it in the paper as well, out of the 12 starting forwards in the first half, 1 scored from play. Jack Carney's very first point of the game. That's a horrendous stat. And I don't know whether you guys know anything else about Jason Doherty, or whether he picked up a niggle or not. He did. Like, he got called ashore after 28 minutes for Fergal Boland, who I need to mention, by the way.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of baffling in the sense that he comes on and does so well, and he's done so in many games, and then we don't see him, and we go, where is Fergal Boland gone? And we're hearing fellas going, oh, he's this and that, and you just wonder like how he goes missing for, I don't know, it was the last game he played against Kerry in the league.
Down Tralee, yeah, I think he scored 3 points.
Yeah, like, I mean, what's that about? Like, I don't get this, like, where these players do that and then they go missing. And like, I know I'm not involved in training, and I don't know everything that's happening at training, but it's just kind of a bit weird. And he seems to be the one that comes and goes like every couple of months, but certainly his contribution last weekend was critical from a Mayo point of view. But yeah, look at here, it was a poor showing. And I mentioned there, Jason Doherty got hauled ashore. It probably could have been any of the 6.
Yeah.
Really. They just weren't all. They've struggled to break down. And again, this is a Kildare team that shipped such a pile of scores, like 5 goals after 20-something odd minutes against Dublin, 16 points down against Dublin at half time. But again, to go back to the Mayo thing, and a very valid point, I think, that we can resonate with this Mayo team down the years. Mayo are never going to demoralise a team. That's just not what they do. They don't do a Dublin or a Kerry on it. They just do enough to win. Now, by God, were we left waiting for a long time the last day, but they seem to have this unique knack of just doing enough to win, be it against whoever, be it hopefully Kerry the next day, be it against Kildare, we struggle against everybody, really, don't we? But they just do enough to win. They're never going to open the floodgates and win a game by 20 points or demoralise one of those big teams. But that is what we are pinning our hopes on. But certainly it was a better second half, and yeah, how we ended up winning the game by 13 to 14 points is beyond me.
John, how do they, like, just looking at, let's say, even the last 12 months in I suppose big enough games for Mayo? Last year the Connacht final, disappointing first half against Galway, then Mayo get that burst in the second half, pull away. Same against Dublin in the All-Ireland semi-final, struggling in the first half, it's a disaster. And then all of a sudden, and even if you look at the league this year, like early on in the league, the first round of the league against Donegal and Markievicz Park, Mayo come with 5 late points. Even against Galway in the championship, John, they nearly rescued it, even though I suppose Galway were deserving winners on the day. But Mayo just had this propensity to get a good burst, and all of a sudden, I suppose when the game becomes chaotic, they seem to relish that aspect.
Yeah, the relish and the chaos, all right. But let me get one thing straight here, Cian. If they do that against Kerry, they'll be out the gap at half time. There'll be no retrieving it. It's that simple.
Yeah,
they can do it against average teams. Against Kerry or Dublin, that there's no way that's going to happen. So I think that's something that will definitely be focused in the minds. But you have to give them credit for that. Like, it is. You mentioned, like, you go back to them games you're after mentioning. But, like, yeah, the Galway one. I think I mentioned it in the podcast a few weeks back that I was sending Pádraig Joyce a text message with 10 minutes to go in Castlebar just to say congratulations, because they were 6 up, I think, and next thing all of a sudden they're hanging on for dear life. And that's what Mayo do, isn't it? They just never throw in the towel, and they have that, and they've done it against Dublin, of course, in the All-Ireland semi-final last year. So they have that unique knack of doing it. And but God above, last weekend, the game against Kildare, it looked dead and buried. We were 6 down after 41 minutes. We had only scored 5 points from in 41 minutes. Like, so that means already for the remainder of the game, we had to score more than what we had scored for the first 41 minutes and hope that Kildare didn't score at all. You know, and that's the way I was looking at it, watching it. I'm going, we're in major trouble here. But look at here, the lads kicked on. We got some brilliant scores in the second half, long range points, you know. Fellas that were kind of not really at the game in the first half scored. Conor Loftus got a great one. Diarmuid O'Connor got a brilliant one. And I keep mentioning McLaughlin and Keegan because, you know, they're power running. But Keegan's point in the second half, lads, was absolutely nothing short of sincere. I don't know how he even had the neck to go for it. Like, he had about 3 or 4 Kildare players on front of him, standing on the 45. And he was kind of leaning back. I thought, well, he's surely not going to shoot here, is he? On his weak foot with the outside of his boot, with about 3 or 4 players. It was an absolutely unbelievable score, really. And
just the natural talent, I suppose, that guy has, and just his back and his ability. He's just that kind of guy. But I was going to say, you were a man who played in Croke Park and as a forward, like, and you said the forward return wasn't what it is. Like, it's a hard place and a lonely place, and things for a forward don't go well out there, isn't it?
I know it all too well here. Yeah, I'm wise after the event. I've had the nightmare up there as well. And it's when ball isn't coming to you and things are going against you, it certainly isn't. It is a lonely place. The crowd was weird as well. You know, there was only 13,500 up there. Like, it was a disaster, really. You know, the streets were empty before the game, and but it is a horrible place to be when things are going against you, and that's where you have to give a little bit of credit to the resilience of the Mayo team. And I don't know whether you guys watched it back. Oisin Mullen's goal was I couldn't pick out which Kildare player it was, but he was gone. He was being ushered away over towards the Cusack stand side, and a Kildare fella hit him a belt and sent him back in towards the Kildare goal. The chance would never have been created had that Kildare fella not hit him back into the path of the Kildare goal. And of course, he won 2 then with Swanee and then roofed it to the net. The only time I think I ever remember something like that happening was Tom Caniff hit Pádraig Joyce a belt of a shoulder above in Salt Hill. Joyce was going the wrong way, and Caniff was going back and hit him a thunderbolt and raced him in front of goal, and Joyce ended up scoring a goal from it. Now, that's going from memory. Maybe I've made that up slightly, but I don't think I have. But yeah, certainly. And that was the goal that brought us back level after the hour mark. But yeah, it was a great finish by Mullen. But I have to say, it looked like he was going down a cul-de-sac, and that Kildare had everything done right. Push him out towards the sideline. We'll turn him over now. But the Kildare fella came in from the other side of him, banged him, faced him to goal, and the rest, as they say, is history. Like, I think that was a real crucial moment of the game. But you can go, I don't mind mentioning as well, it was great to see Jordan Flynn back on the pitch again. All of us kind of critical of him early on in the league and wondering, did he have it? But you know, he certainly brings a bit of steel to it, doesn't he? And we very soon realised that Jordan Flynn has become a crucial part of the Mayo setup, for his physique. Even in the league final against Kerry, when he got injured, before he got injured, I remember him going back, getting a hand in to stop Clifford palming the ball to the net. So his discipline is working. And look at here, he scored a goal, and anyone wondering, he went for that, no question. I was actually roaring from the stand, go to the corner, kill the clock, don't let Kildare come down the field to get a chance, eat into it. But who am I to tell him what a finish? But yeah, it was a brilliant finish. And of course, very similar to the goal Horan got against Kerry in '96, the goal that I didn't see because I was bailing at him for not passing to me. But yeah, it was a great finish by Jordan Flynn, and mighty to see him back on the field again. Crucial to our chances against Kerry. And I don't know whether you call him from anything, or is Ryan O'Donoghue. I saw Ryan O'Donoghue actually shake hands with Jimmy Hyland after the game down in front of me, in Croke Park, obviously in his tracksuit and Mayo top, so not togged or not even close. So I don't know, is he going to be surely a week on?
Hopefully
he's not fit against Kildare. Will he be fit? But
well, I suppose it's 2 weeks from that game. You had 2 weeks from that game out, so you'd hope he'd get back in. And I think it kind of did prove again the last year how crucial having Ryan O'Donoghue back there, especially when we've no Tommy Conroy and no Ryan O'Donoghue. Like, you know, that's we really need Ryan back in there.
Yeah, absolutely. We realised his importance. He was our best player in the National League. Watched him closely, of course, at club level for Belmullet, getting to the county final. And yeah, he's a really, really smart, good player, and he's brilliant at bringing all. And he's got the bite in him, which is crucial for a top level player. He's got the nasty streak, as you call it. Don't mess with me type of fella. Not biggest in stature, but by Jesus, he's got the nous and know-how really to navigate a game and control a game. So again, I don't know. We're hearing groin. We're hearing he carried a groin all league. We're again relying on snippets of information that nobody has come out really and given us any indication that we're hearing he's training well, which I think is very important. But yeah, you can go back again, jumping on from the Kildare game, going on to the match against Kerry. Like, it probably was the nightmare draw. But if you go back to the league final, where we took a pasting in that league final, and I thought we lose by 15 in the end.
Yeah.
Well, the stories went around after that Mayo didn't really care about the league, and that they had trained. I was talking to somebody that can categorically confirm that Mayo had the living daylights ran out of them 2 days before that game at training. So hopefully that was the case, and that Mayo didn't want to turn up, although it was difficult for the thousands of supporters that turned up for that result. But yeah, and of course the Pádraig O'Hora and the David Clifford show, I saw some great messages going up on social media after the draw was made that Swanee is on his way to Fossa to collect Clifford on his way to Croke Park for a bit of crack, so that's actually quite funny. So look, I'll be looking to see how that plays out, but I'll fully be expecting, because we also heard in the aftermath of the league final that James Horn didn't want to show his hand to Jack O'Connor for a future meeting in a knockout championship match. And again, I hope that's the case, because that time is nigh.
Yeah.
So now we're going to see, is there going to be something in place? Because Kerry don't just have David Clifford. Obviously, you feel right now, if you stop David Clifford, it's a good start. But Jesus, they've got more than David Clifford to worry about. So I don't expect to see any individual defender having to try and sort out a player of that caliber on his own in Croke Park, as Pádraig O'Hora had to try in the league final. So we wait with bated breath.
Another point is you mentioned like Jordan Flynn having him back. The Mayo midfield didn't really function last weekend as well. Like, are you probably think maybe we'll put Jordan and Matthew in there and do something different with Aidan O'Shea? Because it didn't go from it all. He was good against Monaghan, but it didn't go from Croke Park.
No, it didn't. Yeah. It's so weird. Like Aidan O'Shea is a bit like Marmite at the moment, isn't he? Like, and it's for such a good servant of Mayo football. Like, to hear people like. I do a bit of reading, and for one fella to say to you, Aidan O'Shea shouldn't be let near a Mayo jersey again, to reading another comment to say he should have been on team of the week after the Kildare match, you're going, how could there be such a difference? Like, but yeah, look, he didn't have as great a day the last day in Croke Park. I still think he's absolutely crucial to Mayo's play. I like him sitting back in a kind of a 6-y area. You know,
like an extra 6 back there in front of the half-back line.
Because he's a fantastic tackler.
Yeah.
He's brilliant at dispossessing opponents coming through with the ball. Absolutely fantastic getting his hand in, and he's made so many tackles. And the other thing about Aidan O'Shea, there's an awful lot of people, he attracts attention, whether he's playing well or whether he's not. He was like the Liam McHale of our team. He's the fella that the opponents wanted to nail. He's the guy that they wanted to pin down or to turn over or to knock on the ground. And it kind of frees other things up when that happens. But yeah, it'll be an interesting one to see what they'll do with that. Again, to get into the mind of a manager is like getting into the mind of a serial killer, really, isn't it? You just haven't a clue what they're thinking, you know. So whether or not Jordan Flynn is going to be considered fit enough, because he's missed a good bit of ball to play the duration and where with Aidan O'Shea, but yeah, we're under no illusion for the Kerry match that Mayo are going to need to up their performances 50, 60, 70%, because if they play like they did against any of the teams in their last 3 games, they'll be in big trouble. Kerry will have them wiped out the door by half time. And that's, I suppose, the beauty of this resilience that we keep talking about, the Mayo resilience, that they never give up. But there's no way Kerry will let Mayo back like Monaghan did, like Galway did, or like Kildare did the last day. That just doesn't happen with Kerry.
Do they have to kind of bring that chaos and madness that they brought so in the last 20 minutes in that game Kildare right from the start, and kind of just throw nearly the game plan out and just go for it in a kind of crazy way that sort of suits Mayo?
I think so. I think it's the way that like Croke Park, no question, suits our athleticism, and especially from the back line. You know, mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, I think, and it would be a nightmare. Like if I was any forward and I go up there and I'm just looking at the Mayo team here, the team against Kildare, and I'm going, oh Jesus, oh God. And I was a forward and I going, which of them fellas would I rather be tagging? Well, the answer is simple. It's Stephen Colm, because he's not going to go forward as much as the others, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like, that's the discipline, and we need to bring that to play. Like Owen McLaughlin mentioned it a couple of weeks ago against Monaghan. If Owen McLaughlin composes himself on front of goal, he's a dangerous weapon to have. Like he's got in now for absolute, but it's all from power running, very hard to track. Paddy Durkin is a player I'd like to see a little bit more from. But we're so used to Paddy getting his couple of points, and Keegan and McLaughlin have kind of taken that mantle from him. But yeah, it is the chaos that we need to bring. Matchups are going to be crucial. Like we haven't a clue. Kerry have cakewalked themselves to this stage.
They haven't played a game since that game in Tralee, really, against Mayo, in all fairness.
That's the kind of, well, hopefully that's a positive thing from a Mayo perspective. But yeah, look at the sight of a Mayo jersey, I think inspires, and they are, of course, encouraged, and Kerry feel like they threw away an All-Ireland last year, and that is what they are kind of looking at this year, going, like, remember that the stands Tyrone took last year against Kerry. It was actually the day Mayo played Dublin that came out to the public. We spent a day Mayo were playing Dublin. Yeah, the day Mayo were playing Dublin and Croke Park, we spent it on the radio talking about Tyrone's stance against Kerry, not make. So it was an amazing coup by Kerry to start the propaganda in motion that day. But the general feeling at that time was, sure, it doesn't matter when they play them, because Kerry are going to annihilate them anyway, because what happened in the league match. And there's another thing that we'll build on.
Oh, you're talking me into us winning this game, John.
I'm not. I'm talking about just having a chance. I love just to be in the game and having a chance. But yeah, the point I'm making is actually to counter really what my point nearly is, to think you don't expect Kerry to win with that complacency again after getting caught last year, you know?
Yeah, and like I suppose you were covering the Clare and Roscommon game beforehand as well for RT. Yeah. Like, you know, a great game of football, a kind of really lovely game of football, but it's not the winning All-Ireland level of football.
No, but it was a thoroughly enjoyable game. Absolutely brilliant. The only negative from my point of view was Ireland were playing in the Aviva against Scotland, and Shane Duffy, I think, scored at the exact same time as Keelan Sexton was taking his penalty. So we were kind of backing over. I would have only loved to have been live for that last 5 minutes on the radio. So I think it was missed. I can't actually remember, but I think it was missed. But yeah, Roscommon 100% kicking themselves after that one. They played. It was a brilliant game. Half time 1-10 to Clare, 1-8 to Roscommon. Paul Early came up to me then at half time, a former Roscommon footballer and Sky commentator. Paul Early goes, yeah, he says, bit of trouble, but we're going to come strong second half. And I went, okay. He says, yeah, we're going to come strong. I was a little bit worried earlier on. And then he proceeded to tell me, which is an unbelievable one, that Roscommon haven't won a championship match in Croke Park since 1980. That's unreal. Against Armagh in All-Ireland semi-final. I would have thought surely they won a qualifier up there sometime or other or not. But no, imagine that. 42 years since the Rossies won in Croker in a championship game. How horrendous is that of a stat? But Roscommon played the brilliant, a perfect second half. They unloaded the bench. They brought on Donny Smith, Richard Hughes, Keith Doyle, all scored from play. The two Daly brothers, Conor Daly, Ronan Daly, up the left flank, point, 3 points, 6 points from them mentioned players. And you thought Roscommon cruising until the last 5 minutes. And you were on about chaos and mayhem. What a finish to a game. And Jamie Malone, who ended up getting the winning point, had a relatively quiet enough game by his standard, because he's a fine footballer. Like, we know about him from down the years, as well as Keelan Sexton, of course, who ended up scoring 2-6 and getting man of the match. But yeah, you couldn't make it up. The penalty goes in, and then straight from the kick out, the ball is won. Now, the free kick, the clear free kick, was about 45. No, it was more than 45. It was about 50 metres. This is an awful kick. I said, but you know what? The way Sexton is playing, he'll kick it. And lo and behold, what a monstrous kick to level it. But to say that Roscommon were shell-shocked is an absolute understatement. Anthony Cunningham's face, his jaw was just dropped open. Like, he couldn't believe what he was after witnessing. But it was a great day for Clare. Fantastic Colm Collins. He's one of the good guys of football. And I tell you, there's no sentiment there. He doesn't be long hauling off the sun when things aren't going well for him. And I thought Podge was making his way for down the tunnel after getting hauled aside. But no, that's the respect he has. He went up into the bench, and he was the first person I saw hugging the father at the end of the game. So, yeah, it's great for Clare, of course, who we all consider to be hurling stronghold and all. But, yeah, devastating and not a good end to the year for Roscommon.
And obviously, we just take a quick look. Obviously, Armagh did the job again against Donegal last weekend. They're going to be playing Galway in what should be a thrilling quarter-final in a week's time or so. Right.
Yeah, look at here. I'm hearing there's 70,000 tickets sold already.
Yeah, seems to be huge.
It's hard to get more than 2 tickets together. It's very hard. I was looking at the tickets situation yesterday. So yeah, no, you're very small selection left.
That's unbelievable after only barely less than 14,000 turning up for the round 2 qualifiers. But yeah, Armagh seemed to be. I actually met Donegal manager on Declan Bonner on or Boner, or whatever you want to call him, on Monday morning or Monday afternoon. He was on his way to Galway. His daughter was graduating from NUIG, and he was desolate after the loss, especially. And the simple point I made to him was hard to believe. Like you bet Armagh 7 or 8 points in the Ulster Championship 5 weeks ago, and now they're favourites to get to an All-Ireland final. And of course, Derry, of course, are in the mix as well, and they kind of threw away the game against Derry. So football is strange, lads. There's an awful fine line between winning and losing, and a manager's head being on the block and not. So yeah, but Armagh done the job. They look to be by all accounts the best qualified team from that side of the draw. But yeah, they'll be eyeing up that Galway full forward line and trying to figure out a way. But yeah, it's amazing how football turns around in a few short weeks. They looked dead and buried Armagh a few weeks ago, now favourites to get to an All-Ireland final against Mayo.
And John, before we wrap up, we have to give a praise as well to the Mayo Miners, the only team who won the provincial title to book a place in the Ireland semi-finals with a win over Kildare on Sunday. A fine team.
Oh, jeepers, Mary! I love watching them. I love absolutely. Like, thank God I wasn't in Tullamore, but thank God for TG Carr YouTube. I was glued to it. It was my go to on Sunday to watch the game, and all the other games that were on, I was flicking, but the minor game in Tullamore commanded my full attention. But look at here, they coughed up a couple of dodgies at the end. They were cruising, but I'll tell you what, lads, that Niall Hurley is some piece of stuff. And of course, I'm only after realising Ronan Clark is Pat Clark's from my dad as Pat Clark's son. Like, what a game them two fellas had. But when Kildare started eking back into it at the end, all you needed to do, like, and it's so good to have a player like that, get the ball to Hurley or Clark, like, and they'll do you damage. Like, they'll get you scores to see you over the line. And of course, Abel mentioned needs to go to Oliver Armstrong, who came on at half time. I think scored 4 points from play. Like, he couldn't miss. Like, and between Clark, Hurley, and Armstrong, they ended up getting 3-14 of the 3-18. Like, sensational piece of scoring. But have to say, Minors, amazingly, the only team left in the competition unbeaten. And I think we mentioned it before. Kerry turned Cork over badly in the Munster Championship, and then in the final, Cork gave Kerry an absolute whipping. And it's amazing. Kerry are now in a semi-final. Cork are gone packing. Like, football is so weird, isn't it? But that's what we love. And
we've a Galway side to overturn the Leinster Champions Up and have losing 3 games in Connacht.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Isn't that just what it's all about? Like, it just goes to show you there must be something in that. Like, we won't look too far ahead, but there must be something in that. If that Galway team, like Mayo, were comfortable against Galway. Yeah,
twice.
They bet them well in the round stages, and they were comfortable in the Connacht final against them. And with 6 points or something they won, but they were always going to win that game. So it just goes to show you there must be something in it that Galway can turn over the Leinster champions, Dublin, and still be so. It's a positive sign at that level for the Connacht teams.
Galway and Mayo, 2 All-Ireland finals, lads, coming up. Get your tickets ready. Get your hotel room for €500.
We'll play in the height. John, thanks very much. We'll chat to you again soon. Much appreciated.
No problem. Talk to you soon.